When you use Beeline or Impala shell in non-interactive mode, query results are printed to the terminal by default. In other words, results go to the standard output stream. This is convenient when you want to view query results, but sometimes you want to save the results to a file. One way to do this is just to copy the results from the terminal and paste them into a file, as I mentioned in the previous video. In this video, I'll show you how you can make the results go directly to a file, no copying and pasting required. With Beeline, to capture query results into a file, you need to use a feature of the operating system shell called redirection. When Beeline is running, it actually writes two different streams. It writes messages and errors to the standard error stream, and it writes result sets to the standard output stream. By default, both of these streams are printed to the terminal, to the screen, so you can see them. But if you want to capture the results to a file, then you need to redirect the standard output stream to a file. You can do this using the greater than sign operator. In the Linux command shell, this greater than sign operator is an output redirection operator. At the end of your Beeline command, append this operator followed by the path to the file where you want to capture the output. If you specify just a bare file name, then it writes a file with that name in the current working directory. If the file does not already exist, then it creates it. If the file does exist, then it overwrites it. When you redirect the output to a file, you'll typically want to use the output format option that I described in the previous video. It turns off pretty printing and instead outputs the results as delimited text. The example shown here outputs the ID and name columns from the games table as comma-separated text to the file games.csv. In this example, the first line of the file will be a header row with the column names, because, recall from the previous video, Beeline's show header option defaults to true. The command in this example redirects only the results to the file. Messages and errors will be printed to the terminal as usual. Redirection is a complicated topic, and I'm not going to get into the details of it. There are ways to redirect different streams to different files or to the same file, ways to append to the file instead of overwriting it, and more. You can look into that on your own if you're interested. With Impala shell, there is no need to use redirection because there is a command line option that captures results to a file. It's the -O option, O for output. After -O, you specify the path to the file where you want to save the output. You can use this option together with the delimited and output_delimiter options I described in the previous video to save delimited text with your choice of delimiter. And recall from the previous video that when you use the delimited option, Impala shell does not print the header row by default. To make Impala shell print the header with the column names, use the print_header option. The example command shown here has exactly the same result as the Beeline command shown earlier. It outputs the ID and name columns from the games table as comma-separated text to the file games.csv. The result set is saved to the file. Any messages and errors are printed to the terminal as usual. It's worth mentioning that you can also use Hue to export query results to a file. After you execute a query in Hue, click the Export Results button to the left of the results, then click the CSV option. This will prompt you to open or save a CSV file. There is also an option there to export the results as an Excel file. However, both of these options export only the first 100,000 rows, so they're not suitable for exporting very large result sets in their entirety. There's also an option to copy the displayed results to the clipboard. You should only use that with very small result sets. Finally, there's a Save button at the bottom of that menu, but please do not try to use that. That does something completely different that's beyond the scope of this course.